Since this video is going to be uploaded at exactly 3 o'clock p.m. on Good Friday, I'd like to just take a quick, brief moment of silence, if you will, with me. All right, well, hey guys, this is AJ Unlimited here to bring you another video. And since it's Good Friday, in honor of Good Friday, in honor of the day Jesus Christ died on the cross for all of us, I decided as a Catholic, it is my duty to make a YouTube video talking about Jesus, my Lord and Savior, So I'm going to just kind of talk about just growing up as a Catholic and how he's just always been in the background of my life without me even realizing it. And then, how I sort of slipped into like a depression when I was 21 years old, and which some might call the dark night of the soul. It's all intertwined with religion and mental health. But I'm going to kind of tell you how he sort of pulled me out of it, how he saved me, how I found Jesus, and just how he continues to work in my day-to-day life and assist me and just let me know that he's there with me by my side and watching over me and my family. I obviously was raised a Catholic. All my life I was a Catholic. Maybe a handful of times missed Sunday Mass, that type of thing, like whether I was sick or whether I overslept or just, I don't know, let's just say laziness. I'll admit it, laziness, carelessness, things like that. So, I'm not perfect, but yeah. So, ever since I was a little bitty baby, a little nugget, I was going to church every Sunday, every week, and confession and, prayer, all the whole 9 yards, family rosaries and stuff. My old childhood home was always just a safe place for anyone and everyone who wanted to be there, who wanted to hang out. And my parents were always just, they were very, very holy, very, laid back. They weren't super strict, but they were very firm, and they were very, like you do what they say no matter what. But they were always very laid back, and they didn't really, micromanage us too much. But, my childhood home was just, just a safe place to be. And, there was never really any kind of, like disasters there, like no fires. We never got hit by any terrible storms. Nothing like crazy catastrophe. It felt like, well, it didn't feel like, it was just kind of always there. It was pre-existing, this feeling of just comfort and safe and peace and joy. And it's just where we lived. It was home. It was just, I don't know. But it was funny because, there was like red everywhere. The carpets were all red upstairs, in like the bedrooms and like the living room, and red is like Jesus's color. That's like the color of passion, the color of love, the color of whatever you want to call it. So, our childhood home was just it was just home. It was just like, I don't know. You can't really describe it. It's just, that's where we grew up. That's where I grew up. That's where I lived. That's where I was raised. That's where I was born. And I lived there for the first 18 years of my life. And matter of fact, I remember when I found out that we were moving out of that house, I had an existential crisis, because I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna go on in life without living there. It's just my sanctuary, But fast forward, however many years, we move out and we move into this other house, and it's much smaller, and it certainly didn't have the same feel, but it was still we were still very Catholic and very, we were still very close and stuff. And while I was living in that house, because I lived there for about 8 years. Yeah, 8 years sounds about right. And while I was living there, I fell into a major, major depression, so severe depression. And, I talked about it on the channel a little bit. And I slowly but surely, little by little, managed to claw my way out of it. And it felt like it was kind of, maybe at the tail end of it. And in reality, it was probably sort of more in the middle. But it felt like to me at the time, more at the tail end. I started to, because we were going to church, we were listening to the readings, and the priest would give his homilies. And, we were just constantly talk about it. At the kitchen table, whenever we'd gather and drink beers, and the topic would come up, and we would just talk about Jesus and God and the religion, and oh, what did you hear in church today, and this and that and the other thing. So it was just always there in the background, constant like reminder, like that he's there, he's watching over us. But it wasn't until I really started like I was really, really looking for answers. So I started praying like mother. I was kind of, going to church and I was listening more to this stuff because I was just desperate for answers. And sure enough, I just kind of, I don't know, it just happened very subtly, but looking back, it felt like it kind of happened pretty rapidly. But in the moment, it didn't feel like that. It felt like it was it felt artificial to me. It felt just weird. Like I never thought I'd be the type of person that would need to find Jesus, if that makes any sense. Because I was a pretty happy kid growing up, and I knew of Jesus. I knew he was always like part of my life, but he was just kind of like all he ever was a picture on the wall or like a statue in church or whatever. Like we talk about him a lot, but it's like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, yeah, he died on the cross, but what does that even mean? What does any of that mean? But it wasn't until I was really, everything was sort of stripped away from me and I was searching for answers. It wasn't until then when he really started to reveal himself to me. There was one specific night, and this was when, I'm going to get a little bit, not graphic, but just a tiny bit R-rated. This was after I discovered marijuana and alcohol. I was drinking pretty heavily at this time in my life. And I was sitting in my room and I was high as a kite and I was drinking and I was sort of like kind of drifting in and out of sleep. And I was in this sort of like almost dream like state. I wouldn't say it was like a vision I had, but it was more of just like an overall experience or feeling. But it felt like for a brief moment that I was back in my childhood home. And it was like, it was like those red carpets and, the Jesus, there was like a giant Divine Mercy Jesus picture. You can even see, right there. It was like that, but like 20 times bigger. And that was always there. So I remember like, I didn't see it, but I felt it. And I remember feeling this like very, very bright light. But it felt like it was at the end of a very long like hallway type of thing or a long tunnel, which is kind of metaphoric if you think about it. But I remember it just for a brief moment, it felt like I was in my childhood home, but like in a fourth dimensional type of way, like a heavenly sort of way. And it was like as if I was standing at the top of the stairs, let's say, at my childhood home, and I was looking at like the red carpets, and I saw like the picture was there, I guess. But it felt like this hallway just like went on for like miles and miles and miles, but there was a very, very bright, like warm, comforting light at the end of it, like almost like metallic, if that makes any sense. And I remember experiencing that. Like I kind of started to freak out because I was like, am I dying? And I kind of snapped out of it. That's when I knew how, not why, but how Jesus was always like there at my like childhood home, like always just there, his presence, right? That light. And so for the longest time after that, as much as it spooked me, I'll be honest, as much as it spooked me, I was always kind of like, I mean, because I remember that experience was so like, it just felt like I was home, it just like this feeling that I was home, I was safe, I was just right where I belonged. Like that same feeling that I always felt in my childhood house, the same feeling that I felt in that moment. And so it was kind of like always just lingering in the back of my head. Like I kind of just, I wanted to feel that presence again. I wanted to see that light again, but I didn't really know how to, I don't know. It was interesting. It was very, very, intimate, and it was very deep. I remember that. It just felt very deep. And, so ever since then I've been sort of kind of seeking it, but he would always reveal himself to me at moments that I didn't want him to. Like when I was at work, let's say having a bad day or like being tested in life, and I would always just kind of like shrug him off. Like, I can't go away, like I don't need this right now. Like, why don't you do it when I'm actually in a good mood? But I know exactly why he's doing it. He's testing us. I would every once in a while experience that same sort of feeling, but it would come in like the most unexpected ways at the most unexpected times. But little by little, I started to slowly embrace it. And even now I'm like, kind of like, weary, because I don't know, I don't know what he's like, what else am I going to have to like sacrifice to, but another thing about, I guess like holiness or like the Lord's presence is like, I've noticed that every once in a while, because I mean, for the longest time, especially when I was in that depressed state, the world just looked dark and gray and gloomy all the time, like all the time. And little by little, I started getting glimpses of the other side of it, and I just started to see like the world around me looked like just I saw like nothing but color and beauty, But it would kind of like be foreign to me. I was like, "What is this? Like, what? This doesn't make any sense." And I'd kind of shrug it off, and sometimes it would even spook me, like I said. But I did hear and read multiple times that like holiness is like being in the state of holiness is like being like a kid again, being like a little kid. Every time I experienced that, it's kind of like it was almost as if I felt like I didn't deserve it, or I felt like unworthy, or just like angry about stuff. But I always kind of looked forward to it. And again, it would be revealed to me in very unexpected ways. But I don't know. Fast forward a few years, I guess. His job, it's been really testing me, but at the same time, it's been teaching me a lot about myself and a lot about the faith, a lot about other people. And little by little, I'm starting to slowly warm up to like Jesus and his presence. And I feel like I've been feeling his presence more and more in my life, not just in a like metaphorical way, but like physically. Like I could actually feel his presence like within me, and it's very weird sometimes and spooky. But I try to embrace it, and it kind of just feels like kind of like a big warm hug is kind of what it feels like. And I'm just like, ugh, but it's like you gotta trust him and stuff. But now that I'm doing this stuff, this YouTube stuff, and now that like I'm trying to write a book about all my mental health issues and such, and like just my overall faith and how I just experienced all this stuff step by step. It's like all the color in the world is coming back to me, and I did not see that coming. I just thought that like my childhood is over. Now I'm becoming an adult, and it's just whatever. Like you got to work hard and provide for your future, family, wife and kids, whatever, which I don't have yet. But I just kind of figured like, oh, that was just, whatever. It's just that was childhood, and now I'm an adult. Now I'm grown up, and things are just different. But no, it's actually it's the most weird thing because it's like, there's that term like born again. Not to be confused with reborn or rebirth, but like born again, which is like basically it all sort of comes back to you. It's all coming back, and you feel like a kid again. At first, it was like few and far between. I just kind of get glimpses of it, and I really liked what I saw, but it would only last for so long, and I would just go back to being pissed off at the world or just super depressed or whatever. But now it's like almost like it's right in front of me, and I can just reach out and grab it, but I'm still hesitant. And it's like that little itty bitty gap of like resistance and like I don't quite trust you all the way, but I'm getting there. But I can definitely feel I feel it. It's like right there, the end of the tunnel, the light at the end of the tunnel is like right there. And like I said, the color of the world is kind of like coming back to me. And it's all Jesus. It's like Jesus is lighting up my world again. Like I was in such a dark place for so long, and he's like lighting it back up. He's turning the lights back on, but like slowly, like a dimmer. And I mentioned the word resistance, and it's funny because I've actually been reading the book Resisting Happiness by Matthew Kelly. He's a very devout Catholic man. In the book, it talks about like basically the essence is like resisting happiness. Like a lot of people resist happiness because of like what I just said, because like they don't think they deserve it or one reason or the other. But happiness is God. Like God is goodness. God is love. God is joy. It's not what he does, it's what he is. So he's like basically saying resisting happiness is like resisting God. And Jesus is God, so it all ties together. A lot of people are just kind of like they don't get that. And God is just sort of like a metaphorical thing, or like or they don't believe that Jesus is God. Another thing that it didn't start catching my attention until recently, but in church, after they bless the Eucharist, they say a bunch of prayers, and they say like, through him and with him and in him. And I'm like, what? But now I'm starting to understand that, because it's so like, the religion, the Catholic faith, and like your relationship with Christ is so like deep and personal and intimate, kind of like what I said earlier in the video. And it's like right there in front of you and it surrounds you all the time. But it's like you don't see it because it's like you're looking for the wrong things in life. You're chasing the wrong things in life. And those things, happen to be what is dimming the light in the world around you. And it's so bizarre because the thing about Jesus is that he's always there, just waiting for you. And all you got to do is reach out and grab his hand, take that leap of faith. And yeah, you may have to sacrifice some things, but it's all for the best. And I'm still struggling with that, like I said. But he's always there. And it's so subtle and so like background type of stuff, but it is so rich and comforting and eye opening. Truly is. And even at the my mom's old house that we used to live, really small house, we would even in some of our darkest times, like we would still gather around the kitchen and drink our beers, drink our alcohol, and laugh and make fun of each other and tell stories and just like kind of like sitting around a campfire, in the olden days. And that's Christ, and no matter how many times my siblings, my brothers, we fought and fought and fought and cursed at each other and, and insulted each other, just called each other names and like, F you, man, F you, you're not my brother anymore, I hate you. Like, I mean, we've said some pretty nasty stuff to each other, but, we always just somehow find a way back to each other. Like, we never hold that grudge. And there's always that love, that bond, that it'll never be broken. And that's Jesus, man. That's Christ himself, like kind of holding it together. He's the glue that's holding us together, our family. I mean, we're a big family too. I'm the youngest of 6. Plus there's my parents, plus my sister, oldest sister has 3 kids. So in total there is 11 of us. Wait, yeah, it's a big family. And we used to fight a lot, especially my brothers and I. But after all these years, we still stick together, and we still, I mean, it's like every time we are like we gather for Christmas or whatever holidays, it's like as if none of the bad stuff ever happened, and we're just there, and it's like no time has passed, no negativity has occurred. It's like all is forgiven, and there's just like the love is there, and it's just like it's great. I mean, it's like there's that peace and love and joy, and that's Christ himself being there with us and watching over us, and once again being the glue that keeps us together. So, moral of the story here, if you're someone that's struggling, I guess, with this type of stuff, like Jesus is closer than you think. And no matter like how badly you think you've sinned or how terrible of a person you think you are, or how many negative things you've said to this person or that person, or just whatever you've done in your life, like just know that you are forgiven and you are loved, and Jesus is just right there waiting for you to reach out and grab his hand. I guess you could say like finding Jesus was something I never expected. I didn't try to do it. I didn't go out of my way to do it. It kind of like it's like almost as if he cornered me. Like he gave me no choice but to reach out and grab his hand. And now again, the color and the light of the world is starting to come back to me. And it's like it feels like I'm slowly waking up from like a really bad dream type of thing. And it's great. And now that I'm in this condo, which is beautiful, I love it. I shouldn't even be living here. I shouldn't be able to afford a place like this. And I actually live across the street from my job, so I don't even have to drive. So that's wonderful. And my hours are great. The whole 9 yards. And I just know, like, come on, there's no coincidence there, right? Like, he's watching over me for sure. And, like, what can I say, I try not to complain too much, but I still do. But whatever, it is what it is. But that's the video. I just wanted to real quick tip my hat, to the man upstairs. And since, like I said, this video will be going up, like, basically right after he technically died on the cross 2023 years ago, right? I just had to give him a good shout out here and dedicate a video to Jesus himself, because without him, none of this would have happened. I wouldn't be here. None of you would be here. I wouldn't have all this, like, this YouTube channel, all this, like, cool equipment, and my just my condo and all of it, you know, my cat, my family. Like, we would probably have drifted apart a long time ago if it wasn't for him. So, Jesus, this is to you. Cheers, buddy. I love you, and I'll always be there. You know, I always have your back. Do what I can to spread the love, spread the faith. You know, I just hope that going forward, I'm able to somehow lead as many people as I possibly can back to him. That's pretty much like the main goal of this whole channel, of this whole thing. Like, what I'm trying to do here, my ultimate mission, if you will, my end game, thing is to use my YouTube channel and other means to lead as many people as I possibly can back to him, because this world needs him now more than ever. And I don't know if the second coming is gonna happen in my lifetime, but if it does, well, that'd be great. But if not, well, I'm gonna have to do some, I'm gonna have to do some heavy lifting here. But either way, yeah, I just hope that whoever's watching this, you're getting something out of this, and I hope that you experience Jesus in his presence in a similar way that I did, and I have been, and I always will, continue to going forward. So thank you guys once again very much for watching this. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, you know what to do. Please like, subscribe, comment, email me, all the whole 9 yards. And yeah, God bless. And well, Jesus, I trust in you.